Now that Travis is here, we can go ahead and start. I just want to make sure you're going to be here. Welcome, everyone. We're going to start with the pledge, and Joe Kamajian, if you wouldn't mind leading us, please. Thank you, Joe. All right, Harmony, if we can go ahead and do a verification of quorum.
Yes. Director Alex Cook,
Here.
Director Van Vliet,
Here.
Director Doherty,
Here.
Director Tim Cook is absent, President Griffiths,
Here.
4 present, 1 absent, quorum met.
All right, and before we start, I just want to turn everyone's attention to an agenda item. It's the very first board action item, which is the board meeting policy that we'll be voting on. And I just want to say that pretty much everyone on the board submitted the same thing about looking at changing the policy. So thank you very much for member comments on that. So when it comes time for member comments, we'll most likely be pulling the ones that are specific to a board action item. And then you can go ahead and speak during that board action item. We still want anyone who's going to speak about whatever they need to speak. That'll be during the member comments in the beginning. And then we'll clarify that in a little bit. So we'll start with approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion? Is there a
So
motion?
sorry, if I can say that the minutes weren't available, if you'd like to pull them.
All right, so we're going to pull the minutes. They're not there. All right. We'll go on to public official comments, and I would like to welcome our very special guest, Mayor Jeremy Smith.
All right. All right, Madam President, board members, thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I just want to give a little update on some things that are happening at the city. As most of you know, Chris Mann is going on to a different city, our city manager, and we are sending him off with a smile tomorrow night. So please join us. We're going to have a little farewell ceremony for him. But with that brings us our new city manager, which is Nicole Daly. And I know several of you have had the opportunity to meet her. And we're very excited about that addition. She comes from us from Lake Elsinore with over 9 years experience in local government. So we're really excited about what she's going to bring forward to us here in the city of Canyon Lake. I want to talk a little bit about our Railroad Canyon project. And Eric, this is right up your alley. You're going to enjoy this update. So we've been working for months now on repairing the sound wall, looking at repainting that, looking at repainting all of our lights throughout Railroad Canyon as well. And that's finally happening. We're going to RFP on that. It's going to be anywhere between right around $500,000, which is going to be right out of our tax, gas tax revenue. So it's not going to come out of our general fund. And this is going to be great because when we look at the median as well, we're going to fix all those lights, and we're going to look at new flush ground lights as well. So we're going to do some more modern updates that I think is well needed. And I know a lot of people have been requesting that. Want to give an update for Director Burke. She's not here tonight because she's at the city of Marietta giving a little update. But she wanted to let everyone know that with a record of 205% of snowpack, the state has only raised our water allocation to 30%. This is about 1.2 million acres feet for the month of January. They sent over 6 million acres feet under the Golden Gate Bridge. So enough for 19 million people for a year. So, you know, we battle locally with Sacramento. She is as well on the water side, and it's very frustrating. But she couldn't make it tonight and wanted to share that little tidbit. She will be joining us for Coffee with the Mayor, which is going to be tomorrow morning at 7:30. So please feel free to join us for that. And the last little comment I want to make is quite a buzz in regards to a dock ordinance that has been discussed at the city side. I'm requesting to the city attorney and to the council that we push that moratorium forward. And I've already spoke to Eric about this, but we're hoping that the board and the city, with the help of the water agency, can come together and write this ordinance for what is best for Canyon Lake. And as we know, I know the POA wants this. I know the water agency as well. We're the enforcing agency, so we want to come together on this and see what we can do, what's best for Canyon Lake. So just wanted to give that little update. I will be back up here to talk about the fire station, but until then, thank you so much for allowing me to give a little update on behalf of the city. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Appreciate you coming. I don't think there's any other public officials. All right, and I don't believe we have any presentations, so I'm going to go on with two announcements. Though Tim Cook is not here, I am thrilled to report that after he spent some time speaking with his wife who encouraged him, staff who encouraged him, and a lot of members of the community that encouraged him, he has pulled his letter of resignation and he will serve his remaining term. So he'll be back here next month, but he was with us in executive. So I just want to let you know that he has withdrawn his letter of resignation, and we are thrilled with that. The other update I just want to give to anyone who is interested in the pickleball courts, the bids are in, and that will be brought to the board for discussion in open session in March. So I just want you guys to be well aware of that. And with that, we're going to move on to member comments. Harmony, I'm sure we have some. So member comments?
Yes, and would you like me to go through all of them, or should we ask some that are going to wait pending the approval of the board policy?
Yeah, I would like to,
Give
well,
them
if we can give the option. So if you're here about a specific board action item, you can either speak now, but assuming that the board approves the very first action item, you can also speak at that time, or you may prefer to speak at that time before we hear the actual action item. So I think it's fair for us to go ahead and read their names and see what
Okay.
they want to do. And then as a reminder, each individual has 3 minutes to speak. There's a lot of people here. So I'm going to use my timer, and when 3 minutes is up, I normally try to be more gracious, but we're going to have to end the conversation at that point.
Okay, thank you. Our first is Art Femister.
Yep, there goes. Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. So as it relates to the dock issue that the Mayor Smith spoke about, I no doubt that everybody's going to work together, come to a common resolution, and that's a good thing. That's not an issue for me. I have complete faith that, because we all are Canyon Lake at the end of the day. However, having said that, common law places a very heavy responsibility on the seller in a real estate transaction to provide meaningful disclosures about the property they are attempting to sell. The failure to disclose any defects or issues that may affect the value or desirability of the property can result in substantial liability to the seller and their agents. The general rule with common law requirement is that if a seller is required to disclose and does not do so, they are committing fraud. They are committing fraud. And the buyer can sue for recovery of damages and blah, 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 blah. So the only reason I bring this up, I'd like to suggest, however things work behind the scenes, that's not my issue on that with the dock ordinance, if you will. The fact that it's been pushed off as a moratorium or what have you for a year, I would know that. I know that now. And if I sell my home, according to California law, if I don't tell them it's been pushed off for a year, it probably won't happen. However, it was documented that if I live in a cove, I can't have a dock anymore because it's within 15 feet of the other person. So as a suggestion to avoid that issue of causing, remember the lake lease issue when homes were in limbo, they couldn't be sold because of the lake lease issue, that if the council were to say, we canceled it completely, or at least threw that up, tore it up, that doesn't exist anymore, that wording, we may revisit it in another form if that was stated in writing at a board meeting, at a council meeting. At least then it would avoid this, because then the seller of the home is free from that disclosure, because I was told that those wordings were canceled. My dock is not in jeopardy, but right now, and I know it's a first draft and blah, 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 blah. but the fact of the matter is your home would be in jeopardy. So that's all I wanted to suggest on this. This came up with a casual conversation with a real estate attorney, and somehow this morphed into the doc thing as well, you know, and like, oh geez, I didn't know that. So that's all I had to say. So I wish everybody very happy new year and thank you for all your hard work, and to the council as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Art.
Dan Maple.
Hi. Yes, please. Yeah, and hit the red button on the mic. Thank you.
So 3720 lot 110. Hi, this is my first board meeting. I appreciate you guys giving me the floor. On January 18th, my son's car was stolen out of our driveway, which prompted Dad to get involved and to go visit, the community patrol and find out, what their real role is, and then visit the POA and then the city. And I got to be honest with you, I was really disappointed. I was disappointed in the way community patrol looks at security, the way they look at patrol, kind of what they do when they do patrol, and how active they are. When I visited the board, spoke to Amanda, and Amanda's super nice, but to be honest with you, I didn't feel like there was a real concern. There was sympathy, and I appreciate that, but concern, not just for me, but for everybody. We recovered the car. Car never left the community. It was found over by the docks, by the back gate, which, is interesting to say the least. So, I'm concerned. I'm concerned that we spent a lot of money on patrol. And when I say patrol, I'm using some air quotes there because I don't feel like they're really patrolling as much as they are looking for POA violations. When I visited community patrol and spoke to the manager, I was told, well, we can increase patrol on your street. I live on pretty much a dead end street, which a lot of us do. We don't need a lot of patrol on our street. I'd rather they catch the people that are on foot going car to car, looking for keys and looking for cars that are unlocked, which is how they got into my son's car. And that's how they got a key to my son's car, was in a backpack that they stole. Then they came back about a week later, almost on the same night, and stole the car. Like I said, they didn't leave the community. There was no real damage in the end, other than we have to lock his car up and get the code changed, which cost us, $400. But in the end, it could have been a lot worse. But after visiting the POA and speaking with Amanda, my first initial thought was, we have a description of the red SUV that is on videotape at my neighbor's camera, is on videotape at another location that was broken into that night. Same SUV on my street and on that street. Did a drive-by at my house at 11:45, and then came back between 1 and 5 and stole the car. Probably on foot they didn't drive up and take the car. And so we had that. So my initial thought is, well, they had to have come through the gate, right? That's not really the case in the end. That was my initial thought. After putting some more thought into it, it doesn't have to be that way. And then the time frame around that. And one of the questions was,
I'm so sorry, the
really
3
run
minutes,
long? Oh
yes,
my
I'm so
goodness.
sorry. But if you want to stay for the entire meeting, I'm
Yeah.
sure any one of us would love to discuss this
We
with
can
you.
wrap
more
it up in
after.
15 seconds.
I'm sorry, I have to be strict this time because I have a feeling a lot of people out there want to
Alright,
speak
I
as
understand.
well. But please stay and we can chat more. All right, thank you.
Joe Commission.
Good evening, Joe Commission, 3716-124. And I am going to speak to the first item on the agenda, which is that discussion for agenda items. And I want to thank the board for addressing that. I'm confident that it will get approved tonight and we'll get back to business as normal. I want to thank the board for that ahead of time. Encourage that vote. I think most people know I've been here a long time. I've been active in board meetings here for 20 years. And in those 20 years, the first, other than the lodge back in 2000, there's been very little major work done in the community to improve our community. My opinion, the community was somewhat stagnant. There was no capital improvement projects that were actually improving the community. Regular repair and reserve work was done, of course, but buildings were painted and all of that. But I just felt it was important to note with the climate that we're in right now, that in the last 5 or 6 years, we've had board of directors that have aggressively wanted to improve the community. And we had a general manager that was able to do that and work with us to do that. And I feel that the community needs to know that that combination has made a remarkable difference in our community over the last 5 or 6 years. We've had numerous major projects. We've started a road repair project that will ultimately repair all our roads over a scheduled time period of, I believe, 3 to 5 years. And that's major. That's a major deal that otherwise wasn't addressed by previous boards. And I think people know that the value of the community adds to the value of their property. And so hopefully they can recognize that any improvements made in the community are added values to their homes. And I think the golf course, the community in general, has never looked better. We have major improvements not only completed, but pending that I support 100%. And I want to thank the board and the general manager for all that work and all that effort. Past boards as well. So under 3 minutes.
I think you must have practiced this time. That was fantastic. Thank you, Joe. And I'll give a little shout out to the Tuesday work group, since they do work on the golf course every Tuesday for free. And today there were 29 volunteers donating their time and their energy. And next, Harmony.
Travis Montgomery.
Excuse me, 3863-010. I do want to agree with Joe and thank the board for making the change that they made in allowing members to speak. I had a couple of questions on that language, and since you do have the ability to waive it at a meeting and all, you might want to consider just a couple of things there. The red, I take it, is the new wording, which says during the member comment section and after board action items. I was a little confused after board action items, whether that meant as a board action item was being discussed or after the board action items were discussed. So, something that said section during the member comments section and during board action items or something might clarify that just a little bit. And then the second thing was at the end of that sentence, it says, nothing that's said by a member shall be recorded. And I can well envision a member bringing some information to the board during discussion time that might make the board say, gee, we weren't aware of that. And in their discussion say, let's lay this over in light of what this member said or something. And I think the minutes ought to reflect something that information was brought to the board that they weren't aware of by a member, and therefore the matter was laid over or something like that. So it doesn't just look like the board just said, we're laying this over, period. There's no documentation for why they did it. I always have trouble with shall. That could be may and give you a lot of latitude, but there could be things that members say that you may want to include in the minutes. But I really thank you. I won't be coming back before you on this item for a while, but I hope not ever again. But I appreciate your following through on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis.
And now we have a large amount of member comments that appear to be after board action items. If it's okay, we can have you raise your hand now if you intend to comment on board comments itself, or if you want to keep it for a board action item. I'd like to revisit this stack after the next vote. If there's anyone who'd like to raise their hand. Okay, please come up and say your name and track and lot.
I'm Dan Lekawa. I'm in track 3778, lot 008. I'd like to address the expenditures approved for the lodge and its potential impact on the POA's finances. First, I'd like to bring to your attention that the 2.9 million expenditure is not incorporated in the 2022-2023 annual budget, which has only little over 1 million allocated to the repair and replacement reserve fund. The discrepancy raises a question of why this expense was not considered in the budgeting process, given that I believe the planning has been around since prior to this event and until this coming up. Second, if the reserve budgets were to be consumed on this project, it would result in approximately a 1.3 million shortfall, which would drop our reserves from a 62% funded reserve to an optimistic 50% funded reserve. And that only assumes that absolutely no other items touch the reserve budget, which is not a likely event. And then there's an additional 500,000 coming out of a capital improvement fund, which is a separate funding issue altogether. This reduction in the reserves could have serious implications for our POA, as a weak reserve position can increase POA financing costs, increase the likelihood of a member special assessment and or monthly assessments, reduce the overall maintenance of the common grounds, and risk POA bankruptcy. I would like to inquire about the intended funding for this unbudgeted expense. Third, with no growth shown in the reserves in the annual budget out 10 plus years or whatever it is in that annual budget, I'm concerned about how our reserve position can be improved without a dues increase. I would appreciate your thoughts on this matter and how the POA can maintain a healthy financial position without putting additional burden on its members. I really do. I've gotten to know a number of you. I really do appreciate the POA and the work you do. I mean, I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you guys do. But I look forward to hearing your response on this I had 2 agenda item spots, either the monthly budget approval or the lodge update. So I didn't know which one to cover it. So I figured I'd just bring it up here in the front. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. And as a note, we're going to be having a budget workshop on February the 22nd. So answers like that, or there will be answers to questions just like that, and we can talk.
Okay, we see a few more hands for member comments. If we'd like to come on up.
Patty Benelli, my track and lot is 3846142. Good evening. I'm here to speak about the Lodge Lawn Renovation Project, specifically the POA's lack of communication about the project timeline to members with calendared events and subsequently the project's impact on our family's planned wedding scheduled for April 15th, 2023. On April 4th, 2022, after careful consideration, my son Blake Benelli and his fiance reserved the Lodge Lawn and Holiday Bay Room for their wedding ceremony and reception. I offered my assistance as we moved forward in the wedding planning process. Email correspondence confirmed the booking and we were told we were good to go. At the time of the booking, no information was presented to us by Lodge staff or POA management regarding proposed plans for renovation of the Lodge Lawn area and the possible impact on our reserved spaces. Throughout the spring, summer, fall months of 2022, vendors were booked and non-refundable deposits were made for wedding-related services. On October 20th, we submitted the credit authorization form requested for payment of the use of space fees for the lodge and lawn. The lawn fee was paid and posted on October 25th. At no time in April, May, June, July, August, September, or October were we contacted by POA management or lodge staff regarding proposed plans for renovation of the lodge lawn area and the possible impact on our reserve spaces. We thought we were good to go. On November 18th, we received the weekly Canyon Lake newsletter and discovered bids were being accepted for a lodge lawn renovation project. And so just like that, we were not good to go. We were stunned. How could this be? And why weren't members with events book notified before we had to read it in the newsletter? And more importantly, why were we not notified immediately once permits for the project were obtained or renewed? Had we been notified promptly with time on our side, we would have opted out of a Canyon Lake wedding and searched for a new venue. We booked our event in good faith and never thought the POA would not honor their calendar commitments and ignore timely notification of imminent projects that may affect those commitments. This is bad business, POA management and board members. How can other community members trust that what has happened to us will not happen to them in the future? In December and January, we repeatedly reached out to management and the board about this issue. Despite our efforts, we are left with this fact. The project will begin sometime in February, rendering the lawn area unusable and the aesthetics of the lodge exterior areas in less than scenic condition for our wedding guests. We do not have time on our side. With 10 weeks until the wedding, we are resigned to settle for a construction site venue and additional costs to deal with changes to the ceremony location. And this is wrong. It is not too late to make this right, board members and management. Adjust the renovation timeline to ensure that community members with previously planned events will not be impacted due to poor planning and lack of consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe we have one more.
Is there one more hand up? Also, if you haven't filled out a form, you need to fill out a form during member comment period.
Track and lot numbers 3831117. My name is Eric Rogers. And like the previous person speaking, I have a similar situation. I have a wedding June 3rd. And while we put all the deposits down in good faith and thought that we would be able to have a great wedding here with all of our family in this community that we love so very much, we are disappointed to say that even in coming back and discussing it after being notified, we were supposed to see construction starting February 1st and our venue would be okay, unlike the previous person speaking. But it doesn't seem like that's happening because there's nothing happening out here yet. The dates are not being communicated. We put these things down. This is my only daughter's wedding. I have 2 homes here in the lake. Her fiance has also lived here for the last 15 years. The person officiating the wedding is a Canyon Lake member. We have tons of guests from here. And so we find ourselves in this spot where we have no idea what to do about it other than to accept another venue, which we do have time for at an extreme cost, and maybe lose or pay more for these people to go to a further destination away. But I think the right answer for everybody is to go ahead and extend this out and honor the commitments to the calendar dates that are there and start the construction after all those dates are taken care of. If any of you were in the same spot, you would understand and feel the same way, and you'd want the dates to be honored, especially if you'd already put a deposit down with all these people. I hope you consider this and that you follow through with that and you extend that out and do the construction that can happen at any time. And by the way, I'm for all of the construction that's going on. It's going to be great, but it just needs to be done in the correct way. And right now, that's not what's being considered. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I see another hand. Did you fill out a comment card already? Okay. No, I just want to make sure Harmony can pull it then.
Name is Corey Martin, tract 3716, lot 420. here as well for the lodge renovation project. Good evening, respected community and council members, board, everyone here. Thank you for having me sit here and give an opportunity to speak. Again, my name is Corey Martin. I'm a 10-year resident in the city of Canyon Lake. I have a wife and 2 children that I plan to raise within these gates, all the while enjoying what the community has to offer and what's already given us. Life for me has been very busy, so I haven't been able to participate in community board meetings or projects as much as I would like, but today's topic was one that I could not ignore. I'm here in support of the Benelli wedding and want to take this opportunity to voice my opinion on the matter. I wholeheartedly believe that the proposed planning and timeline of events for the Canyon Lake Lodge remodel has been mishandled, which has led to an overpromised and possibly underdelivered wedding for this young family. I cannot accept or believe that with an agreed date for the wedding between the Canyon Lake POA and the Benelli family and money exchanged and accepted, that the POA would ultimately later on advise the young family that their venue would be compromised and the agreed upon resources, grounds, and staff would be altered. In my humble opinion, the board is putting a project which is grossly overpriced and poorly planned ahead and above one of their own city members, showing unethical and unacceptable business practice. Practice that I think should be investigated further to verify proper procedures and financial allocation. I strongly suggest that the general manager and the board reconsider the lodge renovation for a future date and allow the agreed upon weddings to take place without hesitation or compromise. Not only would putting this project on hold allow for the agreed upon events to transpire without impact, but allow for further quotes for the renovation to possible decline due to our current supply chain issues and material costs in the construction industry. I put faith in you guys to take this consideration seriously, as I will personally be watching the decisions made very closely to form a strong opinion on how issues as this will be handled now and in the future. I believe this community, its members, and its board to be one of the best places to live in the state of California, and that is true. I give you guys the opportunity and really truthfully hope that you prove me right. I'll be greatly disappointed if this wedding remains negatively impacted after today. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Did you fill out a comment card? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name's Ron Dipplmeyer, track 3846, lot 141. I'd like to also speak on behalf of the planned Benelli wedding. 2 brief points I'd like to make. Number one, it seems that a lot of this controversy, and I think it has evolved to a controversy, could have been avoided if there was a contract when public spaces were agreed on. A handshake and a check pass is insufficient in my mind for matters of this. And this would be for the benefit of the people renting the space as well as for the facility itself. And I think this is an improvement we should make. I think the committee does a very good job with rules and regulations. This is a miss and a hole, in my opinion. The second point I'd like to make is more of a personal comment. I've been in the community approximately 3 years. It's an amazing community. What the community does in terms of supporting our veterans, the 9/11 tribute, all of our national holidays, it's just amazing. And I think it's one of the core values of this amazing community. I'd like to just let the people who are not aware that Blake and Sheena are public servants. Blake is a firefighter, Sheena is a nurse. They give back to the public. They're heroes in my mind, and they should be treated as such with the values of the community. And I don't feel like the community is backing them up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did you fill out a comment card? Okay, come on up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sheena LaFleur, 3831234, and I'm the bride. Sorry. This wedding is supposed to be a day that every girl dreams about, a day that is supposed to be perfect. This wedding has now become my nightmare. We have been planning this wedding for over a year. We've envisioned everything when planning this venue, including dress, shoes, colors, decor, flowers, scenery, easy access for elderly guests and wheelchair-bound guests, and especially photos. We literally thought of every single detail. Not only did we plan everything around this venue, but we chose this venue because it's close to our hearts. We want to show our special guests this beautiful place that we live. The theme was to be very elegant. A construction site is not elegant nor classy. Let this be a true legacy project by doing the right and honest way. By delaying the project and allowing previously scheduled events take place, especially important events such as weddings. Put yourselves in our shoes or your child's shoes. How would you feel if this was happening to them? This is a once in a lifetime event that every girl dreams of. Photos last a lifetime. There are two things that I don't want in my forever photos: a construction site or the kids' park where I take my son to play. Please delay this project so that we can have our special day. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments before we get into the board action items? Did you fill out a comment card? Come on up.
Blake Benelli, 3831-234. I just want to start by saying that I'm just a little disappointed. My fiance's speech was pretty powerful, but I'm just disappointed that, something like this is what our community has accepted. The last 5 weeks been kind of brutal for me. I honestly thought when I came to this first meeting a month ago that I was going to explain my case, the board would listen and acknowledge the mistake had been made and just adjust accordingly. But I was naive because unfortunately, the exact opposite happened. I ended up being lied to, misled. Private conversations that I thought were in good faith were taken out of context. Stories fabricated to make me look bad. And with all this, zero accountability has been taken by the POA for this issue they've created. At the end of the day, my intent throughout the last several weeks has remained the same. I'm just trying to give my fiance the wedding that I promised her. And I can assure you, I will continue to try and make that happen.
Thank you, Blake. Any other comments? All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items in the consent agenda that the board would like to have pulled? All right. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
I second.
All in favor of approving the, all in favor of approving?
Aye.
Aye.
4 in favor, 1 absent, motion carried.
All right, so we're going to move on to board action item 8.1, Harmony.
Hello, so our first item for the board is an update to the board meeting policy. This board on an annual basis reviews it and makes changes as necessary. After earlier in the year, changing it to only the member comment period in the beginning of the meeting, they've heard some feedback and they'd now like to make another change. So as you saw tonight, we have some comments for after board action items, and I thank you, Travis, for your comment to clarify. I think we should clarify the language on how it's written to say after a second is made. So if I can ask the board that they approve the revised board meeting policy as revised to say during the member comments section and after a second is made on a board action item.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion on this? All right, all in favor of approving the new board policy, say aye.
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 4 in favor, 1 absent, motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to 8.2 ACC alternate committee member appointment, Cheryl.
Good evening. The ACC committee has one alternate position that's open, and the association has received an application from the following member, which is Anissa Brackett, to request an appointment for the ACC committee. The attached application, the ACC committee minutes, and the ACC recommendations are as attached. And the ACC committee, the ACC committee, I'm sorry about that, recommends that the board of directors appoint Anissa Brackett to the ACC committee to serve as an alternate effective immediately.
Thank you, Cheryl. Do I hear a motion?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? I'll just say one thing. For those who don't know, the people who are on the ACC committee spend on Thursdays anywhere, probably average 8 hours, could be 10 hours. And there's a couple individuals that come in on Tuesday and do the same. So I want to thank you for all of that free volunteerism, because otherwise projects would probably take forever to get approved, since it would be up to the board to sit and go through all of that without having the rules in our head like you guys do. So thank you so much. With that, all in favor of approving Anissa as an alternate to the ACC, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
4 in favor, 1 absent, motion carried.
And here's Amanda for 8.3 Security Advisory Chairperson appointment.
Hello. The Security Advisory Committee current chairperson Ken Ross would like to step down from his position to a regular member. And on January 24th, the committee unanimously voted to replace Ken with a current member, Rich Franzik. So we're recommending that the board of directors approve to appoint Rich as the new chairperson to the Security Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Amanda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, are there any member comments? No, any board discussion? All right, all in favor of appointing Rich Franzik as chairperson, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
4 in favor, 1 absent, motion carried.
All right, on to Cheryl for approval, revised rule PC 9.5 doc application.
Can I go back? Just I comment on the last one, just again, background for, can I go on security? On the one we just appointed for the members at large here. Just to give background, Rich Franzik is he's a lieutenant in the Chino Hills, Norco Police Department. He also was the officer who was stationed at Canyon Lake, here in Canyon Lake for a couple of years as well. So he has good knowledge, firsthand knowledge of our community and our needs. And I think he'll serve as a fine representative.
All right, yes, we do have two rules that we're recommending for approval. The first one is on the agenda is PC 9.5, the doc application requirement. The committee is recommending the doc information to be updated to reflect the current changes. The entire section was redlined and rewritten for simplification purposes. Additional information has been added, such as the definition of a fixed and adjustable ramps, in order to end the confusion on what the committee deems as an adjustable ramp. It is recommended that the board of directors approve the rule revision for PC 9.5 doc application requirements as written.
Thank you, Cheryl. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second, anywhere?
I'll second.
Member comments? Board comments?
Yeah, Cheryl, I have a question. This came up last week in a lot of conversations. Application requirements, you're asking for a registered civil engineer to stamp it or sign it. Do we have a list of registered engineers that can actually, or civil engineers that can actually do this in anywhere in the region?
We do have a list at the office that we give. We do not recommend anybody. It's not in our doc to do, but there is a list of people that you can do. And there's a lot of people within Canyon Lake that can do it.
Yeah, my concern is that most of them are experienced with docks. Not, we're the only community that has docks, so
Yeah,
that was
this-
my only concern. And I know that we struggle with a POA to get, experts in docks instead of homeowners.
I hear you. This is a requirement that's coming from actually EBMWD, so it's not something we can stop from doing, but yes, they do require that.
And there was a hand in the back that I missed, so if we can pause for a moment so we can invite the member up. See the hand. And if you can give your name and track and lot. Oh, yeah.
The red button.
There we go. Is that better? Susan Weinsma, and track and lot is 3846-087. We have been in the process of going through this application and everything for 2 years now, with many things happening. My wonder is when this changes, when it finally gets approved and changed, will that change the process that we've been doing for 2 years? Because it probably will affect our process in this. So what are you doing with the people that are in process now? Do we get grandfathered in? Does it get changed? Do we have to go with the changes? Because it will add money to what we've already put out, because we'll have to go back and redo. And on that list that you were talking about that is given out, you do say that it's not, nobody is endorsed, but that list needs to be gone through, because like half of them don't do it. They will not work in Canyon Lake, and they don't do docks.
All right. I can't respond to that, but maybe someone on the board might ask Cheryl that question.
Okay.
So I appreciate your comment. Do you have any more comments on this?
Oh, and then when this does get finalized and go through, will you then be changing the checklist and doc sheet that goes with it?
Yes, we will. And if you would like, you can give me a call tomorrow. I'll be happy to go over everything with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So that does bring up a good question. I'm curious on what she asked. For people who are already in process of building their docks, how will this affect them? Are they grandfathered in?
So the true answer to that is this current, I believe she's talking about the next one, which we're going to be talking about, which is PC 9.4, the general design. The general design has changed where we're enlarging the actual dock. We're enlarging the fingers, the headers, we're simplifying it and making it a better design than it was previously. So the committee has already been approving it in that general direction because they have that authority to do so. Like this is just in consideration. When you read the rules, it says that it is a concept. And so we want to make it an average where we look at the design. And so the committee will then go ahead and look at each dock and each, specific property on its own merits. And then they make that decision at that time. But for most all, the general design remained the same. So that's the reason why we wanted to upgrade and make sure the design got changed.
Thank you, Cheryl. Any other questions by the board?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. In section 9.4 on the general design, we talk about I noticed a few changes on, for instance, to a W dock, and it goes from 26 to 28 feet long, which seems fine. But it reduces the header length from 32 feet to 29 feet. And one of the questions I've got is this going to restrict or be perceived as a takeaway in some way for our members?
One moment, are you talking about the next one at 9.4? Because we're on 9.5 right now. We're talking about rule 9.5, PC 9.5. Okay. Do you want to hold that? Do you have any questions on PC 9.5? Now you're like, I hope I remember it. Any other questions for the board to Cheryl?
Just that same, to that same effect, do the effect of these changes result in a reduction to any of our members?
No, it does not.
All right, with no more questions, I'll go ahead and ask for a vote. All in favor of approving revised rule PC 9.5, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
4 in favor, 1 absent, motion carried.
And now we go on to 9.4.
Okay, so for PC 9.4, the general design data for the new and or replacement dock, it's due to the demand for larger docks. The ACC committee and staff find it necessary to update the general design data for PC 9.4. The size of dock design needs to be updated to reflect the larger size boats and the demand for larger slips. And so because Canyon Lake is a small lake, large parts of the lake in the coves and in the East Bay, it's necessary to be uniform in the general design. Therefore, oversized docks cannot be requested by everyone. We are going to have some areas where you have main lakefront where they have like 120 feet and it's out near the main lake. They can actually have a larger dock. This is, like I stated before, it is a general design and the committee, has the right, deems it necessary depending upon the property to change that design. But for the most part, they're going to keep to it. So master planned areas, which is also a part of PC 9.4, it was never intended that the ACC be the designer for coves, marinas, or other types of styles of docks. The committee is not composed of registered engineers or licensed surveyors, so the design is up to the member and the contractor. Also, the committee is a appointed volunteer group that does not have the time to develop these plans. To improve the understanding concerning docks, additional criteria has been included that the committee uses in their decision-making process. The ACC must make decisions that are in the best interest of both owner and neighbors, which includes the ability to navigate both in the coves and on the open lake. So it is recommended that the Board of Directors approve the rule revision for PC 9.4 general design data for the new and or replacement docks as written.
Thank you, Cheryl. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any member comments on this one? PC 9.4? Board comments, questions?
I do. This time correctly. So again, on the W docks, why do we reduce the header length? From 32 feet wide to 29 feet wide?
I'm going to go ahead and allow John to answer that question. It's much easier, but again, we have to look at each individual property on its own merit.
I don't see the header being reduced. What I show is that it's going from 5 feet to 6 feet on W dock. So all the measurements are actually increasing except for the width there were on a W dock. The width of the W dock was kind of in error because we're doing 10-foot slips and 3-foot fingers. So it was just a math error on the previous thing. It's been like that for years, so.
Again, the intent is not to necessarily take away or reduce the rights of anyone.
No.
This is really a cleanup.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and allow for larger boats, which makes sense.
Yeah,
okay.
so we're going actually with, we're with more of a minimum. But we use this as a guideline. This guideline only. Each, as Cheryl said, each lot is considered on their own merit. So that pretty much says it all. Okay, thank you.
Any other board comments, questions from the board for Cheryl? All right, all in favor of approving revised rule PC 9.4, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
4 in favor, 1 absent, motion carried.
All right, next on the list is 8.6 revised rule LM 7.2. No boats permitted over 21 feet, 6 inches, or 5,000 pounds.
So this is in approval from last month's 28-day reading to address growing concerns about excessive wakes being generated from boats here in the community. We hired an environmental services professional to conduct a lake carrying capacity, and the recommendation of that study was to lower the weight limit from 6,000 pounds to 5,000 pounds. We're recommending that the Board of Directors approve to revise LM 7.2 as attached.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, member comments. Do you want to go down the list that you have or go by hands? So we do have a list as well.
I don't for this, but we have one, at least one hand raised.
All right. We'll call the first hand.
Is red on? Oh, there's Kathy Mulcahy, 3868-189. And I am here because we have a 2019 MV boat that weighs 5,200 pounds. And there are quite a few other boats, I think, on this lake that are about the same size that this would affect other members. It concerns me. I know it's grandfathered, so I can keep my boat on the lake, but what we do after about 10 years, we give our boat to my adult daughter who also owns a home in Canyon Lake. And this would preclude me from doing that. It would also preclude people from selling their boats to other people in Canyon Lake, obviously, which is kind of the main market around here. So what I would like to see tonight is maybe an amendment on this to bring the weight limit to 5,250 pounds or 5,500 pounds. So it would accommodate the members that do have a little bit bigger boat. And I just wanted to say briefly that I've had comp boats that are very lightweight for many, many years. We just got the bigger boat in 2019. And depending on how you trim our wake boat, I can make a big wake or almost no wake. And on the little boats, the little comp boats, depending on how many people are sitting in the back, you can make a huge wake or no wake. So it's really kind of a nebulous thing. And I know you have to make a weight limit. So I would just like to see an amendment that makes it a little bit bigger so it accommodates those boats that are still on the lake that might be heavier, but can still make a small wake. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I see Art's hand is up. Come on, yeah, come on up. And then also if there's any other member comments on this, we just need you to raise your hand. Even if you haven't completed a comment card, we want to hear from you if you have any input on this. Thank you.
So I didn't plan on talking on this because I thought the rumor, and I'm not going to mention any conversations, was that the study was blown out as bogus, and it is. We went through that. My wife is a statistician. We went through that study in detail. That's a joke. The gentleman graduated from Colorado University on that with his master's degree. He wrote a thesis, and the definition of a thesis is my theory, my thoughts, not fact inside there, on a lake up in Idaho that's 43 miles long, 5 miles wide, 180 feet deep, and use that for comparison. The study took, I think it was 10,000 photos over a certain amount of time, one every 10 seconds, and he surveyed people at the dock, and that's it. And based on that, you're going to use that study to say, based on 10,000 pictures of boats on the water, that this is the size of the weight. It has nothing to do with it all. Nothing that he did inside here had anything to do with the boat weight. It was about capacity. The study itself was titled capacity on that, boat capacity on that. That's what he was talking about. He was a trail expert. I mean, I dug through his LinkedIn study inside there in detail. Everything is about mountain trails, taking people on hikes and wilderness stuff, whatever. No experience at all in the water, 1 year out of college, wrote a thesis. His first paid job for this was Canyon Lake. Look at his own project list on his website. He lists 18 things about trail management that he did, and then one job for Canyon Lake. He had no experience doing this at all. If you use this study to approve this, there's going to be issues on that. There was nothing, it was just nothing. It was a joke. And the camera, by the way, he set one up at Holiday Harbor and one at some beach. I don't know where it's at. The one in Holiday Harbor, to his credit, he said 80% of the photos were useless because the camera was covered in cobwebs. It's just a joke. He has no experience in this at all. So I wasn't prepared to speak on this. If I was, I would have had more detail. I'm stumbling a bit. And I'm actually pretty just blown away that we're going to do that. So I'll stop now, but I'll just let it go at that. So thank you for your time. And I know this is a tough job for you. So.
Thank you, Art. Whoever's raising their hand, I didn't quite catch the name, but come on up. Oh, Stacy, hello. I just saw a hand.
Hi, Stacy Nora, 3719321. I agree with Art. I read through it as well. I was extremely disappointed, and I did send you all an email on how disappointed I was in the third-party study that was utilized. And if for nothing else, I hope this is never done again, ever, for any other matter concerning Canyon Lake. And the reason why I say that, it was just from lack of vetting. I found other research studies that I've looked into that had more detail around this than this gentleman gave us. So if you want some information, I have it for you. But mostly the boats that are already on the lake that are approximately 6,000 pounds are by homeowners. Homeowners use their boats typically for about 30 to 40 years. So if you think anything's going to change as a result of making this rule, the boats are already here. I know you guys want to make a rule for a number, but you should look at the boats that are already here and use that as a vetting number. And it is about 6,000 pounds. That's not 5,000. But also too, I wasn't going to speak tonight either. So I'm sorry if I'm stumbling. But for the most part, I look at this scenario and I know you want something, but as a suggestion, I think one of the wiser things to do when I looked at other studies across the United States from very vetted communities is that they utilize bigger boats going closer to the central buoys as a dissipator and a wave mitigation. And that they have found with education, that was the biggest thing I saw over and over, is use education. Like we use the boat test here. We should do these things. I don't want to make another rule that you have to go within a certain amount so somebody gets a ticket. But educating our community that if you have a larger boat and you're going to go out with your 12-year-old and you have to go about 12 miles an hour to wakeboard, stay closer to the center line. The waves do dissipate. It's not rocket science. That's what happens. Unfortunately, we do have seawalls. That's our biggest problem. It's numbers of boats going in circles that people are upset about. It's not one boat going around the lake, it's 20. So don't blame the heavier boats. I'm not going to blame all the boats. I love this community. I'm on the water all the time. But for the most part, there are other ways to do this besides what has been presented tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Stacy. Good points. Any other member comments? All right, board comments.
I have a couple of questions. So in fact, maybe Eric, you can help with this to educate the members present and so forth. The biggest issue, the reason for this is because we have a lot of issues with wake damage to the docks and seawalls and so forth. What are the primary issues what's different about our lake that requires us to take this action?
Was the question, what is different about our lake?
Yeah, what is unique about it?
Stacy pretty much nailed it, that we have a lot of vertical seawalls which cause wave action to rebound. And if you've ever been to Lake Powell and you go through the channel, you have a lot of boats going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and the wave action has nowhere to dissipate because they're hitting vertical seawalls.
So,
Please no shouting.
So.
Try to keep it orderly.
So
Thank
the
you.
fact, so this problem is really created due to two facts. One, we have vertical seawalls. The second is we have a very small lake. This is not Lake Tahoe. It is not Lake Powell. And we have a lot of developed areas. And that's what really is creating a lot of our wake issues, correct?
Yeah, and the thing a lot of people don't realize is that there's a whole nother contingent of people that aren't here that have bombarded me since I've been here and the last 5 boards. Why aren't we doing something about the damage that they're getting to their docks and the expensive repairs they have to make, especially on the main lake every year? And like everything we do, this isn't a popularity contest. We're trying to find a happy medium between all the parties. That's all.
So given that we need to make a change, right? And we've got 6,000 pounds currently. I did ask Amanda for numbers because I'm a numbers kind of guy. I like to have data and facts. And if we were to go forth with the 5,000 pound limit, it effectively will impact 22 owners or 22 boats in the community. And that's out of, I don't know, however many boats we have registered, but
1,838.
about 1,000, okay. So it's about 22 boats that are impacted. If we were to raise this limit from 5,000 to 5,500, that might impact about half of that. So we're talking about 10 boats or so overall, just for the board's consideration.
I have a couple comments. One is, I don't disagree. I think the study, basically the last couple paragraphs start talking about weight and everything else is a capacity on the lake. So it was not something that I'm using as my decision-making process. I think the biggest issue I have, and this is not just with this rule, is if we don't have to grandfather boats in, we shouldn't be using that as a crutch to pass a rule. I think the rules is written at 6,000 pounds addresses what the overall concern is, and that's letting manufacturers know that there's a limit here. This is the biggest you can put on our lake. We've already done it in weight, in length, and now we're going to do it in weight. So I think that's, to me, was always the number one goal when I was thinking about this rule. And number two, we're going to outlaw the nicest boats in the lake, the nicest wakeboard boats that are available for us to buy. And that top of the market just won't be available for you anymore. So you're going to have to purchase a boat. And I just don't think that's what we want to do. I think it takes away from property values. I think it takes away from people wanting to live on the water. And I think it does hurt our community. I think there's better ways to address this. We can enforce plowing more. I think as Stacy said, I think she's the one that said, make sure everybody's educated about being in the middle of the lake. I think that's big. I mean, I know that when I first moved here, it took me a while to learn that, get to the middle of the lake if you're not on plane. The outside of the lake is for the fast boats. And I think that we need to go back and do that. So I also, and just for the record, counted how many emails I got on this, how many comments. And we didn't get a lot of emails, but we only got 2 in favor of this rule. 2 emails, and we have not received a comment here in favor of it either. So in my thought process, it's really 9-2 is what the reaction we got from that. So I'd also say, I'm surprised we didn't get more emails, but that's what it rolls up to. So that's my comment.
I'm going to go ahead and make a comment, and this was from a gentleman who spoke at when we first started talking about this, and we were talking about different things and what could cause problems. And I am sympathetic to the people who live on Main Lake and have dock issues. And it was a comment, he talked about congestion and the circular motion, and all that went through my mind is back in the day, the olden days in a pool, and you get all your friends to keep going in a circle to create your own little whirlpool. And I was so glad that he brought that up because you can have 100 boats going at 5,000 pounds in the same circular motion, and you're going to just create this wake that's going to impact the docks. But that has stuck with me all through this point, and I just wanted to share that with you because I don't know who it was who made that comment, but it was impactful. We do have one member who would like to speak on this. But we've already spoken. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move forward. But next time, certainly member comments before we start chatting, just in case. But with that, I'm gonna go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor of approving revised rule LM 7.2, no boats permitted over 21 feet 6 inches or 5,000 pounds, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
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 One in favor, motion fails.
All right, next is 8.7, approval of re-sanctioning the Canyon Lake clubs.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Okay, so a little background on this. The POA received requests from several clubs seeking approval to be re-sanctioned for the next 3 years. As per required per the Sanction Club policy, the attached list of clubs have submitted the following documents: Sanction Club application, club damages agreement, gate access agreement, club roster, bylaws, meeting minutes, and a letter of community service. Okay, so the fiscal impact for Sanction Clubs is kind of a comment from staff. Use of the CLPOA amenities in common areas are approved annually by the board. Costs associated with those events and activities are reviewed when the calendar is approved. Each club has varied costs based on the events held. It's recommended that the board of directors review and or approve/reject the request for re-sanctioning for the clubs as attached. And for those that weren't at our last meeting, like I said earlier, we did this on a 3-year cycle. So this 3-year period would be 2023 to 2025.
Thank you, Lynn. Are there any member comments on this item? It's,
So, yeah. So to clarify, it's a lot of documents for all the clubs. We did not put, it's 1,000 pages for all the application stuff. We did not include that in the member packet. The board did get the list of the clubs that had submitted, which was a question. So it's not in this member distribution packet. So.
all right. I'm actually going to call for a motion on this. I'd like to make a motion. Since there's no other member comments, I'd like to move that we table this until next month, until the board has had a chance to review the 1,000 documents, if they can put in our Dropbox. Because there's been, for us to make a fair assessment, especially when it comes to give back to the community, that's important. There's a lot of great benefits that come with being a sanctioned club. And I want to make sure that we can make a very solid decision. My motion is to table until next month.
I'll second that.
All right, any board discussion on that? Keeping me on track, I love it. All right, all in favor of tabling this until March, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Can I make one comment, Ms. President? Okay, so since Kathy was asking, I don't have the list of who has not submitted a packet. So since it's been tabled, if your club has not submitted a packet, I would definitely suggest it. That'll give us time to get any missing ones in. So I think almost everybody did. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. And now we're going to go on to 8.8, equestrian hay fee schedule change. Steve Schneider.
Good evening. Up until fiscal year 2021, 2022, the POA charged a market price for hay being fed to the horses at the equestrian center. Market price was calculated by staff depending on what time of feed delivery for that particular month. The fee schedule was then changed to the fixed cost to reduce administration time in the monthly building for each horse. The new structure worked well up until the beginning of a current fiscal year when hay supply and prices were impacted by world events. One of our suppliers even said that been in business for 40 years, had never seen anything like what's going on currently. Next year, we plan on going back to the market rate and adding a handling fee to combat the unprecedented time. We would like to implement this fee structure now instead of waiting until our next fiscal year of May of 2023 to pass the cost of hay the increase of hay onto the members boarding their horses at the equestrian center. Fiscal impact would be market price plus 10%, handling fee associated with the horse feed cost. Staff requests the board of directors to approve the ratification of the current equestrian feed schedule to market price plus 10% handling fee.
Thank you, Steve. Do I hear a motion? Is
Make motion?
there a second?
Second.
Member comments? Come on up.
Sorry, I'm talking so much tonight. Kathy Mulcahy, 3868189. I am the secretary of the Equestrian Club, and we have quite a few equestrian members here. If you guys could stand up. I don't know how many of them are going to talk, but we'll try to keep it brief. So currently at the Equestrian Center, we pay market price for hay. We also pay for the board, which includes the stall, picking up the horse poop, feeding twice a day, and use of the amenity. And most of us pay between $500 and $650 per horse per month. Some of us have multiple horses. I know there's a deficit because of the hay this year, but it doesn't really make sense to me because we pay market price. So whatever the price increases to, we're totally fine with paying it. But a 10% handling fee, I've been at other boarding centers over the past 20 years, so have many other people here. And I've called around locally and even as far as like Coda de Casa, another POA in Orange County. A 10% handling fee is unheard of. It just doesn't exist out there. That's part of our board. The board is the handling of the hay. So I don't really understand where this is coming from, and it's just not done really anywhere else. So we would all like to take a better look at this, put it on hold and deal with it in the budgets in May, when you're probably going to look at our board and look at our trailer fees and other things. I don't feel that this is an emergency. One of the other board members who looks at their bills a little more closely brought it to my attention yesterday morning that for quite a few months, we were slightly overpaying for hay last year. And then they reduced it down. And that didn't seem to be an emergency. So I don't see why this is an emergency right now. I think we should take the time, really look at the budget numbers. And again, we don't mind paying market price, but a 10% handling fee is completely this just doesn't exist out there. Also, I'd just like to briefly talk about the center. I've heard from staff that, we are an amenity for only 41 members, 0.8% of the community. And, we give 25 lessons a week to children in the community that don't own horses. That's 1,300 lessons a year. We do horse camps, we do play days, and people come and visit the amenity all the time. So this amenity is not just for 41 horse owners. It's enjoyed by many members of the community. So when we look at that deficit, which I think this last year's deficit comes out to about $9 per household per year. And Eric in an email said it might go up in 2023, 24 to $106,000 a year. That equals $1.84 per household per month. So it's still one of the lowest, in looking at all the other amenities, we don't have that much of a deficit. And again, we don't mind paying market price for our hay, whether it's high, whether it's low. That's what it is. But a handling fee, it's part of it, should be part of our board. Thank you so much. Oh, and real quick, if there's any way for these couples that are getting married, if we could accommodate them somehow, they broke my heart.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other comments on this? Come on up. There's behind you. Yeah, I saw her first.
Man, okay. Bonnie Moore, 3719-074. Again, I agree with Kathy. Today I was trying to figure out what the handling fee was actually for. So I went and talked to Cindy at operations, and unfortunately, I think Eric, you're in operations, you weren't there. So is it Eric or Steve? Steve, okay. I meant to go meet with you, but they simply couldn't find what the handling fee was actually for. There was nothing in writing, there was nothing said to them verbally, so we would like to either create a motion to forward this and table it to next time, or simply vote no on this, because we really don't know what we're being charged for above and beyond what we're already being charged for. So if we could clarify that, that would make more sense to us. Again, elaborating off what Kathy said, we have no problem paying the market price for hay right now. We understand that it is an issue and hay will probably more likely continue to go up too. So more reason why we want to understand what this 10% handling fee is for in the end. Also, like Kathy said, there are 53 members, but please keep in mind that's 4 people per household that absolutely enjoy their animal. They like it. They love it as another member of their family. So you're talking hundreds of people. They're actually involved in the equestrian center, and we all treat each other like family as well. So we would really appreciate if you either vote no or table this tonight. Thank you.
Was there another hand up from, sir?
While he's walking up, could Steve, could I clarify something? Your action item says that the fee schedule was market price and then was changed to a fixed cost. And the current price of hay is a fixed cost, correct?
Correct, it's a fixed cost, and currently the Canning POA is paying more for hay than what's being
Right.
charged to the members.
So the reason for this, correct me if I'm wrong, is that our current fee schedule, which was approved by the board a year ago at budget time, this time of year, the fee schedule is always approved in February, March. We're currently on a fixed price for hay. And because of the escalation in hay costs, this is a adjustment in the middle of our budget season. That's why we're doing this. Am I right?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so there's your explanation. What the handling fee is to make, this is so we can make an adjustment from a fixed price to adjust for the market price, which is out of control right now. I do want to, like, nobody's targeting anybody. We have many peer groups within the community. We have a finance committee here in the community. And I sat in a finance committee meeting which is all made up of members. And the question was asked, a statement was made that we should really try to get the cost for all of our amenities to zero. And so we have headwinds from all different sides of the community. And obviously that's not a very realistic expectation. The community pays $100,000 to subsidize the equestrian center and to offset when we're losing money in the middle of the hay market. This is an adjustment. Next year, we will change our fee schedule so that we can adapt as we go. We'll go back to market price.
Welcome. Your name, track and lot, please.
Hello, Josh Lightman, 3719188. I just wanted to say thank you for letting me speak and thank you for being up here and doing your job. It seems pretty tough. I just wanted to say, please vote no on this opposed equestrian feed issue. We are asking to readdress this issue at the start of the fiscal year. As an equestrian center patron, we are looking for clarity about the handling fee. I understand this gentleman was just telling us, but I'd like a little bit more clarity and what it really is. And we're asking for some sort of transparency that will be provided to the boarders about the hay load amount, if that's possible. So far, those I've spoken to around the barn are not opposed to the idea of market value for the hay and as it changes with this economy. But transparency is a must, and it takes time to come up with this, which is why I feel that this should be postponed or voted no. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member comments? Oh, if you want to come on up, I don't know if we can answer it, but Someone here might be able to.
I'm Gretchen Ursich, 3868 432 is my track and lot. For those of us who buy our own hay, where does that 10% come in? I purchased my own hay for 4 of my horses. I have my tack room filled. I have it delivered. I feed my own horses. I have 2. Let me start over, I'm sorry. I know hay. I own 250 acres in Northern California. What I grow is hay. I came to the barn 12 years ago. I offered operations my hay, great quality hay, at $7 a bale. They refused. We pay for everything our horses eat ourselves, all of us, because you are reimbursed by what we pay you for what you pay out for our hay. That's a wash. You're not paying anything out. We're paying you to buy our hay. We have asked for good quality hay. There wasn't good quality hay. I buy my own hay. I buy 10 bales at a time. I haul it up to my horses. I feed my horses, and you want to charge me a 10% fee? For what? You're not doing anything for my food, for my horses. We have offered over and over again to go help pick good quality hay out. Nobody wants us to do that. I know hay. I have been dealing with hay for 50 years. I have baled it. I have hauled it. I know. And 10% on any of us is a lot of money. But for us, there's 6 of us at the barn who don't buy hay from the barn. You don't feed our horses by the flake. And what I calculate by the flake, whatever you're paying per bale, if it's $40 per bale and you're getting 40 flakes out of that bale, you're getting reimbursed. You're not losing money. You're breaking even. I don't understand the 10% surcharge. And I need it explained to somebody who doesn't buy your hay. It doesn't make any sense. And my offer to have you guys buy hay, my guy was going to deliver it here and nobody would take the offer. It was alfalfa at $5 a bale. It was orchard at $10 a bale. At the time, it was years ago, yes.
Sorry, the 3 minutes were,
Well,
we
that
had
was
3
a
minutes.
fast 3
But
minutes.
I know. Thank you though for your comment.
So Steve, if Gretchen isn't buying hay from us, then she's not gonna have a surcharge, right? Okay, so Gretchen, if you're not buying hay from us, you're not paying a 10% surcharge. And the basic reason for this to be in the agenda is that we have 4 months to go left in our fiscal year. And we're getting killed on hay, which we're currently selling at market price. And so the board has the freedom right now to help us with this budget problem in the middle of our budget year and adjust our fees from market price or from fixed price to market price. And feel free to talk about whether that should have a handling charge or not.
First, are there any other member comments? We have one more member comment.
Red button. Tad Friesmeyer, track and lot 3863329. Again, regarding the set, I understand where he's coming from regarding the 10% currently. If you guys can be a little more transparent to where that 10% is going to go. We have 4 months left in this fiscal year. Let's just either vote no now or table this to next fiscal year. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there another member comment? Okay.
Gina Hipsack, 3846-187. I do agree that this needs to be tabled for another time. There's just too many questions that need answering. I am an owner that pays for my own hay as well. So that was a question, am I going to be charged 10%? So, but now that is cleared. But another thing is that with all this rain that we've had, hay prices should start coming down as well. So the other thing is that also hay should be bought every 6 months to a year, not every couple of months. We need to get a whole truck in, not just a half a truck or less than a half a truck. So I thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Any other member comments? All right, I'm gonna go, we haven't need a motion, right? No, we have not. We haven't even gotten to the motion. We haven't even gotten to the motion. Actually, on this one, I'll throw out a motion. So I got an email earlier today on this one. I would like to make a motion to amend that we approve the fee schedule to market price, period, without a plus 10% handling fee. And I'll explain why during discussion if there's a second. So that's my motion. Is there a second?
There's a second.
All right, discussion. I'll just start on the discussion. Ever since I started on the finance committee, which seems forever ago, but it was only 4 years ago, I've always been looking at the equestrian center. You know, for some of the same reasons where people have talked about that there's 53 people, and then I look at the number because, as I've told everyone, I'm always focused on numbers, and you know, Tim Cook's the heartstrings of this organization. But I had a neighbor who said it's part of Canyon Lake. So I always look at it every single year and I compare to what other places are charging from a boarding fee perspective. And with that, while it's a great deal, as golf's a great deal, and a lot of things are a great deal because they're all amenities, the only time there is a fee or an additional fee for feeding is if there's a third feeding or there's something as special needs for the horse. But in all my research, and I just did it recently as we were going through the board workshop or the finance committee, we were going through our 2 days of finance fund. I did my research again, same thing, only on a third feeding or if there's something very special needs of the horse, but otherwise it always did include in the stall fee, the two feedings. So that's why I would recommend moving it to market price, because I also, want to make certain that all the other members aren't paying for, horses to be fed. And that's borne on the people who own the horse, but certainly I would want to remove that 10% fee handling.
I have a question for Steve. Steve, how much do we lose on hay per month currently?
I don't have those numbers, but we're probably losing about $20-30 per horse over there a month currently.
I can, on the budget or in the budget, it shows cost of goods sold. I'm just looking at, I'd have to break it up, but we are, when we were looking at the numbers, there it is less because it isn't market price. And that's why I think market price is fair on a go forward. My issue was just with the handling fee. No more board comments? All right, so with that, I'm gonna go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of approving an amended motion that the ratification of the current equestrian center feed schedule to market price period. So we're striking out plus a 10% handling fee. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
3 in favor, 1 against, 1 absent, motion carried.
All right, 8.9 golf course mainline repairs. Steve Schneider.
In 2021, the POA replaced the golf course irrigation system lateral lines, heads, pumps, and control systems, noting that we were going to wait to replace the 27-year-old main lines running through the golf course. Since then, we've had a few of the above-ground steel main lines start leaking through deterioration points on the pipes. These main lines can be found at both tunnels underneath Railroad Canyon and both bridges near holes 10 and 17. The main line at the bridge to hole 10 has multiple patch clamps on it. The main line leading from hole 5 to 6 underneath Railroad Canyon is leaking so bad that the water needs to be turned off when not in use. The latest reserve study shows a useful life expectancy expired several years ago. Further patching and workarounds are no longer an option, given the corrosion. And so now we need to do the replacement. We received 3 bids, range from $132,500 to $364,000. Fiscal impact would be $132,572 plus a 10% contingency from the reserve fund 02670. It is recommended the board of directors approves $132,572 plus 10% contingency from the reserve fund to replace the main line or do the repairs for the main lines listed above.
Thank you, Steve. Any member comments? Nothing? All right. Do I hear a motion? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Board discussion?
This is why we have reserves. So I understand it's a necessary expense. If it's leaking that bad, we have to fix it. That's why we have reserves.
Yeah, since I'm on the Tuesday work group, I do see it. So, yeah. So, all right. So with that, no other board comments? All in favor of approving the golf course mainline repairs, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
4 in favor, 1 absent, motion carried.
All right. What? So moving on to 8.10, resolution to accept City of Canyon Lake's offer to purchase a portion of parcel number 353-101-002 located at 28730 Vacation Drive, which houses the Canyon Lake Fire Station 1. And we have, before we ask for member comments, we have a very special guest again who would like to come up and speak to that. And there will not be a 3-minute timer for Mayor Jeremy Smith.
All right, good evening, Canyon Lakers. How are we doing? Jeremy Smith here, and I got a special announcement. I have Mayor Pro Tem Welty, will you please stand? Council Member Jennifer Dane, will you please stand? Councilwoman Casey Castillo, will you please stand? We're not done yet. And Councilmember Mark Terry, will you please stand? Your entire council is here tonight. This is a very important item for not just the city or the POA, but as Mark Terry said in our video today, this is a Canyon Lake issue. I truly believe that we are of one people. We're not the city. We're not the POA. We are Canyon Lakers. And I do believe that we need to govern that way in all capacities. When I was asked to come speak on this particular item, I wanted to share a little bit to the community on the importance of what we have done from the city standpoint and also working with the POA. Your council has worked diligently, reaching out to each board member and having discussion on this item. We value our fire department here. We see the importance of the ownership of the fire station and the benefit that it will bring to the city far outweighs the ownership of the POA. An example is looking at federal and state funding that the POA cannot apply for because they're a private entity. A public entity can. I think that's one of the bigger issues too. We're trying to secure a home for our men and women who are our first responders who sleep there day in and day out. The city's already invested over $120,000 into this building, and we're just getting started because we know the importance of making a safe place for our first responders to live. So this is really important. And I know there's been some discussion on transparency. Unfortunately, we have governing rules on how we can work, but I will say for both the city and the POA, this has been a hot button topic for both of us, and we are taking this extremely seriously. I'm excited because we know from a city standpoint how important this is for our men and women. We also understand that we have to move forward with the decision that we made. Just a show of hands, who here has had a chance to hang out with our fire department or be a part of the fire department and see the good work that they're doing in this community? Show of hands. Would we agree that we love our fire department here in Canyon Lake and what they're doing for us? Absolutely. That's the same. That's right. That's the same motivation that your council has to make sure that we give them the resources that they have. And I will report, we're excited that the POA has been following that step, and they're very supportive of our fire department. With that, we are going to be giving an entire presentation, a deep dive is what I'll call it, on the importance of owning this fire station. Our chief and one of our new employees, Corey, will be doing that at our council meeting tomorrow night. We will be doing a deep dive once again on the different positions on why we came to where we are today. But tonight it's important that we move forward as well because we need to have that discussion on our end. So if there's any questions from the POA board members before you have your discussion, I'm here to answer those.
Any questions from the board members or comments?
Jeremy, can you elaborate more on the grants and opportunities that you'll be able to possibly get now owning a piece of property?
It's FEMA comes to mind. There's different types of grants when you're looking at rebuilding earthquake standards and different federal and state grants that get to apply. An example of one that our chief worked to get, a very simple one that was done at Firehouse Subs, was a $32,000 grant that we were able to apply for that went straight to our fire department for breathing apparatuses. This is just a small example. When you're looking at ownership of a station for insurance purposes, for other things that we can apply for, we've had conversations with AMR on the idea of expanding the fire station and allowing them to have a bay to be able to service inside the gates, which is a huge win for Canyon Lake. So there's so many different positives for the city owning it versus the POA. But as far as actual examples, I believe the chief is going to go into a little bit of that in our presentation.
I'll just add a couple of comments. I know one of the questions that I got from someone either today or yesterday was, geez, this came on so quickly. Why is this a surprise? And I think one of the things that I would like to communicate to the community is that this is not something that just happened in the last week or so. These have been discussions we've been in with the city for quite some time. And I know myself and the other board members were wholeheartedly behind what is doing right for the community. It may, having the fire station owned by the city. If you contact any other city in our county, all of them are owned by the city. And we want to do what's really right for our community and working with the city to make this happen.
So absolutely.
So I'll make this comment because when this came out, we were able to accept the offer and we put it out there. I remember my husband looking at me because he works for LA County Fire. He's like, they don't own the fire station. And I think a lot of people probably assume because it's natural for a city to own their own station. So I think it's a natural thing, and then not to steal any thunder that might happen. But one of the things that I was excited about, and I don't know what grants you'll be able to get, but when he mentioned solar and not having to potentially pay for it or pay as much, and for these men and women, and even the city, I mean, to not or greatly reduce your electricity bill because you're able to have solar. And if they're able to purchase the solar or get it free, I think that's a win. And that's certainly a win for the members here who, enjoy the the benefits of it. And then, of course, it affects the budget, which affects all the citizens here. So that was one thing. And then I don't know why, but I got overly excited when you mentioned about the earthquake, because that always makes me nervous. But it's more than just, it was about being first in line. And I think that's significant for everyone who lives here, that because they will own the fire station, they'll be first in line to get that building back up and ready to go. Everything will be thrown out them from the state and federal government that they can to help the citizens of Canyon Lake. So that's one of the things that I was well pleased with. So thank you for that. Any other comments for the board before I go to any member comments on this item before I read the resolution? All right. Well, we can make a motion. So do we hear a motion? For that? Oh, we have a comment. Yes, sir. Come on. Hello, your name, truck and lot, please, sir.
Oh, thank you, President Joe Griffiths and board members. President Griffiths, it's nice to see a CLU running the association. When I was the president, I was also a CPCU, so it's nice to have that. I've come here to ask, beg, plead that you do not sell the fire station to the city. The fire station was not part of the cost of setting up a fire station, so buying it for the purpose was not part of the city's plan. Now buying it as a fire station is not the reason, but the excuse. The city wants to get and develop the BLM land. That has been their long-range plan for 9 years. So many believe that getting the land will not happen. Well, stuff happens. I understand that the city is looking for land to trade for the BLM. My experience is that tells me that they would need to have an equal amount of land and a river. That may be hard, but not impossible. So why purchase the fire station? That would give the city access and egress from their BLM property through the POA. Yes, the city thinks that whatever they put on there would be part of the POA. Do we really need 1,000 more members coming in the gates, using the parks and the lake? We have a paradise, but the paradise can be lost with greed. Thankfully, the community gets to vote on that. As you know, the city is not transparent and has a habit of misinforming the community, like the EMS tax. Yes, tax, not a fee, because the fee covers more than the cost of emergency medical services. So it is a tax. Do you remember in 2014, we voted on the UUT so the city would continue to exist to protect the community from the big bad county? Now we need the POA to protect us from the city. When the city developed the EMS tax, they did not consider one dime of the money that you have been paying for years to the UUT for the fire service. Or did you know that you are paying for the entire fire department, not just the paramedics or emergency medical services? Well, the city says they have balanced the budget without raising taxes. They are either lying or misinforming. The EMS tax generated $815,000 last year. The value of the fire station is X amount, whatever you came up with here. But it is the only access or egress to the BLM. The value is priceless. Please, board, protect the community now and in the future. Please, if you're on the fence, vote no. You can always vote to change later. If you vote yes, it's over. I beg you to vote no. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other member comments? Just making sure. All right, and do we need a motion? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and read the resolution before we take a vote. So we have a first and second. The proposed resolution is now therefore be it hereby resolved that based upon the foregoing, the Board of Directors has determined by a majority vote that it is in the best interest of the association and its membership to accept the city's of Canyon Lake's offer to purchase. It is resolved further that the Secretary of the Association is hereby instructed to maintain a copy of this resolution in the association's record book. I hereby certify that the foregoing resolution was adopted by the Association Board of Directors at its meeting on January 30th, 2023. That is the resolution. So with that, I'm going to ask for a vote. All in favor of approving the resolution, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
4 in favor, 1 absent, motion carried.
All right, next item is
Thank you, Jeremy.
all right, thank you, Jeremy. Mayor Smith.
I want to comment real quick. I know it's probably out of order, but the Canyon Lake POA website, I know we haven't talked about it. It's up on the screen right here. There's tons of answers to a lot of questions that you guys can go home, look at this, soak it in. Feel free to email us as board members if you have more questions or anything like that, but there's a lot of information. A lot of people will spend a lot of time putting this all together so we can be transparent, understand where we came from, where the city is coming from. And so please take the time if you get a chance to dig in this and read this. I think it's really, really important. I also will say the process of how this went, was like two companies negotiating. At times it's muddy, sometimes it's not what we want, but it's the end result that's most important. And this end result, the 4 of us, maybe I'll just speak for myself, I don't want to speak for it, but feel this is the best for the city and the POA. This reduces any subsidy for our members on a building that, not no fault of the city, that sat empty for 2 years. That if it's just empty for 2 years now, it's kind of the city's issue, not ours. So I think it's important to know to see the long-term benefits of what this can happen. I appreciate the city. I appreciate the council. None of this was fun behind the scenes for any of us. So, but the end result's what's most important. And I think now we need to look forward and look at all the positive aspects of what this can bring to all of us.
And then I'll add one more thing before we go on to the next. I encourage everyone to attend the budget workshop, which is February 22nd, and start thinking about, granted, there's going to be some tax implications, but there's going to be money that the POA will be receiving. So we're looking for ideas and suggestions from the members on what we should consider doing with that. So I just want to remind everyone that it's a perfect time for the members to come and give their thoughts on that. And next this is just a discussion. It looks like Eric's going to give us an update on the lodger model. 8.11.
Yes, thank you. And we just took it down, but the address where you will find are all of this information we put together about the fire station and this property acquisition is at our website, canyonlakepoa.com/fire station. And like Alex said, there's we spent a lot of time putting all the questions that we've been asked and all the answers to those questions. And so please take the time to look at that. The full resolution is also on this page down at the bottom of the page. And a very brief timeline. This lease has been ongoing since the 70s, and we've been actively discussing it for most of the time that I've been here, so almost 7 years. It's been a topic of conversation. So on to the next thing. I'm glad the Benelli family stuck around. I appreciate that you all came tonight. Your topic and this next agenda topic are sort of one and the same, the lodge project. Blake, I want to address you directly. I want to say that, as you know, on 9:59 p.m. on Wednesday, February 1st, you sent me an email requesting to meet with you, to meet with me. 6 minutes later at 10:05 PM, I answered you and I said, yes, please come to my office at 11 AM. And you did that the very next day. And we started a conversation. Your email to me was, you wanted to attempt to find a reasonable solution about this conflict between our lodge project and your wedding. And the meeting lasted about 4 minutes, and I'm sorry that we didn't get to have the discussion that I want to have with you. We made ourselves available, Renee and Lynn and I, and the meeting ended abruptly when you left. Just to be honest, you didn't seem willing to find a solution other than postponing our project. So I would like to invite you to have that meeting again. And if you could find those pictures, please. This all relates to this agenda item. And I know you guys have waited to the very end of the agenda. We were more than willing to discuss with you at that meeting where you left. Many options, and I don't know why people are clapping, but whatever. There are many options we're willing to present to you. We're willing to rent a dance floor, a wooden walkway, a stage, a floral arch, and set up a beautiful wedding venue like Lynn is showing here on Sunset Beach. If that doesn't work, we're willing to work with you for a beautiful wedding venue at Holiday Harbor. You know, we're sorry this project is impacting your wedding, but we're more than willing to offer you these concessions at no cost to you. And we're reasonable people. We're not the devil. We're not evil. There's been a lot said about me and the POA and the board. I see you laughing back there. Not sure why you're laughing. We're reasonable people and we're willing to find a reasonable solution. So if you'd like to meet with us again, we'd be more than willing to meet with you. Okay, the lodge project. Here's a summary of kind of how we got from here to there. On the interior project, we received 8 bids, some of them incomplete, ranging from 1.65 million to 3.2 million. Somebody asked me, what is value engineering? Value engineering is basically the process of sitting down with vendors, engineers, and suppliers and finding a less expensive way to do certain things. So after value engineering the project and asking our contractor for best and final bids, we have 7 bids ranging from 1.1 million to 1.7 million. So the costs have dropped dramatically. On the exterior project, we received 9 bids, some incomplete, ranging from 770 million to 2 million. After value engineering and best and final bids, we have received 7 bids ranging from 739 million to 1.5 million. And the PowerPoint that Lynn is showing will be on our website under the lodge project page. Excuse me. Both the interior and exterior projects combined, the total cost and final bids after value engineering for both projects range from $2,048,923 to $4,730,692. We have awarded a prime contract to one contractor for $2,048,923 for both projects. When that contract is fully executed, which should happen in the next couple days, the full bid tabulation and further details will be published. This construction team recently completed a $3.5 million interior and exterior restaurant build out in San Clemente, very similar to our project. I spoke with the owner and several other parties, and they gave absolute rave reviews about this general contractor and their construction experience. We also anticipate spending about $580,000 on owner furnished items, which include exterior furniture, interior furniture, bar equipment, umbrellas, patio shade structure, and custom light fixtures. And we will be having a pre-construction meeting for this project at 9 a.m. tomorrow, and construction will be commencing tomorrow. And we anticipate, we have a very rough draft schedule right now, and that is not finalized. And so this is absolutely not a final schedule. But as of right now, we're starting phase 1, which is the patio and the bar area, starting on February 13th. And a very early and aggressive finish would be possible April 28th. And if Mr. Bonelli would like to sit down with me, I understand your wedding is on April 15th. And what I would have loved to explain to you the other day is that there's a good possibility we can be, if we attack this aggressively, and I've spent a lot of time talking to our contractors, we could be mostly complete by your wedding, take the fence down, cleaned up, the new wedding stage and trellis could be completed by then, but we need cooperation. We need to work together to make this happen. And I'd love to sit down and discuss that with you. That's great. Okay, when do you want to come? It's fine. Phase 2, the dining room, is scheduled to start July 21st, 2023 and end September 5th, 2023. We decided to lengthen the project and do it in 3 phases so that we can continue to have our restaurant operate, keep our employees, keep the lodge functioning, and the critical path is longer now on the restaurant portion, but it allows us to keep the functionality and continue to do functions, have a functioning bar. And that's my update.
One of the things that I appreciate is making certain that aside from the functionality, that it won't impact our employees. So thank you for that. So now we're going to go on to association reports. And you're back up, Eric.
So we've had a long night. The last couple things I want to talk about is the median project started today, the pine trees on Canyon Lake Drive South. Pretty obvious project. It's going to be a beautiful new entrance to Canyon Lake. Vacation Park is now complete. We're working on a ribbon cutting ceremony end of this month. Solar project, you all parked out in the parking lot. You see that that's underway. The equestrian center is done. The lodge area is about halfway done. They've encountered some major problems with granite underground during their drilling. Our road project is going to start. We should have our plans at the end of this month and put it out to bid next month. And I just talked about the lodge. And I want to say happy birthday to my girlfriend Kelly, who started her day out at TWG at 8 o'clock this morning and had dinner by herself.
But she was at TWG and had 29 men singing happy birthday to her, just letting you know that. All right, I encourage everyone to go through, and it's also online, the agenda, so you can look at the staff reports and the community reports. They are prepared for everyone, and I think they're really critical. One of the things I'm going to point out real quick on that, because there's been comments online about access and people, not being perfect and coming into through the main gate. And I will tell you, even if I worked there, I would not be perfect at that. So I just want to give you an idea for total guest passes issued in December. And that went by gate, but I just put them all together, was 34,741. That means 1,120 guest passes were issued per day. Guest entries by gate, so they're showing their card and their pass on these guest entries, totaled 96,865, which is 2,672 each day. So while they do train a lot, and I would, mistakes can be made, and I'm not perfect, and they're not perfect. But I just wanted to put that into context when you hear a member make a comment about, oh, my friend got in and they didn't ask to see their ID. There's a lot going through. That's not to excuse what happened or that the training. So it's important when things like that happen. Always date and times are best. If you can email Amanda, or if you don't know her address, email the board. Date and time is great because then they can go back. Everything's recorded. And then that way we know what individual who's working that might need some additional training. And then thank you for everyone who uses RFID, because RFID totaled for just that month, 240,030 entries, which is 7,742 per day. And I'm going to go ahead and I would love that. Go ahead.
We're going to have one comment on the same subject if you can stay on. And that is, there were a number of comments, at least in the social media arena,
about notifying that a number of people got guest passes for a lengthy period of time. Just to let everyone know, in addition to the challenges we sometimes have with the guards and such, we had a major update to our Dwelling Live software, and it turns out when you do updates, sometimes things don't always go the way you think they would. And what happened is it caused us to have an issue where we had to issue one-day passes and so forth. A trouble ticket has been issued, it's being resolved, but sometimes things like that happen too. And that's another reason why there's sometimes some issue with the passes.
Thank you. Oh, it's good. Well, let me just say, appreciate for you pointing that out. We're gonna go to board comments, so I'll let you start and then go with it.
Okay.
But do your one more and then
Before I
go
have
into
one
your.
actually request, a staff request, and that is, last month we went to an abridged reporting system, and I requested that we go back to the full reporting on the security, because it was asked if people read it. Well, I know I do, and the security committee also does, and so I'd like to request, Eric, that we can go back to reporting the full security details that we did prior to the last month.
Why don't we talk about that after?
Okay.
That'd be awesome.
Maybe we said we were last time.
Yeah,
Okay.
just any.
Board comments.
All right, board comments.
So first, I guess the first comment, it is really nice to see such a large crowd. We aren't always this crowded. I really love hearing back from the people. And I gotta tell you, it touched me, the people that have now since left because those kids have to go to bed, but bringing their kids in so they can participate in this process. This is democracy in action, and I commend you all for doing it. Also, for those of you who sent us letters in advance, letters to the board are a much better way to communicate with us than social media. And I encourage people to continue to do that by coming here to the meetings, by sending us letters and coming and speaking up. It really helps us do our job better, which is governing the association. And so I commend you all for doing that, and thank you for that. A couple of items. So security, as a gentleman brought up, the security has been a major concern for us, and we track that every month. We actually have 3 sources of data that we use to track it, and our security committee reviews that every month. December and January were rough. I'll be honest, we had a lot of vandalism. And one of the cyclical things that happens when our kids are out of school, our vandalism tends to go up. More importantly than that, we had bigger crime issues. We had a number of stolen cars. We had some stolen golf carts, and we had some house break-ins and so forth. And so we are certainly working with the city and the Riverside Sheriff's Office on that. Just to let everyone know, if you have a crime like that, where your car is broken into, your house is broken into, so forth, then while we have community patrol, the number one place you need to call is the Riverside Sheriff's Office. You got to call them and let them know. And please, again, call the right authorities before posting on social media. It really helps us track that. Along with that, while security is a major concern for us, I know the city and when they set their goals and objectives for their new fiscal year, they rated security as a top concern for the city. And we are committed to working together with them to continue to make our community safer. We are going to address that, and one of the things we proposed in our meeting was to have a presentation next month in the open session to give you more input on that. And then along the final line of security is we launched our security advisory committee launched our security camera program. For those of you who aren't aware, this allows us, when things happen, as the gentleman said when he got up early in the round today, we can sometimes, you might be in a neighborhood where your camera or your Ring doorbell or whatever you might have might capture some information that helps a law enforcement solve an incident. And so what we've asked people to do is you go to the website. It is a simple 1-button click that lets us know that you have a camera. And if there's an incident, we'll contact you and let you know that there's been an incident and allow you the opportunity to tell law enforcement if you're willing to share it. It is completely voluntary. Your information is always protected, and you always have the right to refuse it if you so wish. Last item, I guess, is if anyone needs some exercise on Monday morning, our golf committee is going to have divot day. And so what they do is they're asking the community, if you are willing to come out at 7:30 in the morning for coffee and donuts. We'll assign you a hole, and they'll give you a bit of sand and seed, and we'll go out and walk the whole golf course to fill in the divots. And so if you'd like to get out there and help, we encourage the community to participate.
On the subject of security, Bill just talked about, and covered very well our new camera program. I signed up for it about 3 weeks ago, and I was told I was about the 14th one to sign up. I heard today that we have 56 members, residents that have signed up for the camera program in just a matter of approximately a month. So I would urge you to, if you have a camera system or even just a Ring camera or something as simple as that, to sign up for this program because it's obviously absolutely free and can go a long way if you capture something on video and, you know, driving crime and vandalism down in our community. Now, for my wife and I, we made the mistake the other night of leaving our garage door open. And of course, Bill mentioned the you know, the idea that we all should lock our things up, lock our trucks and cars and all that kind of stuff. It's obvious, but we left our garage door open the other night. And about 8:30 that night, I got a phone call from my neighbor right around the corner that said, "Hey, Greg, you've left your garage door open and you know how dangerous that is. And you might get all your stuff stolen, your cars and e-bikes and all that stuff." And, you know, so I kind of felt like we had our own private community patrol that helping us out, driving by my house and seeing the garage door open. Now that private patrol's name is Art Femister. Now, he's not here. I'll thank him later. In fact, I already did thank him, but that's a kind of a cool thing that he drove by my house and was concerned and gave us a call. So I hope all your neighbors are the same as Art in that respect. Thank you.
I want to address a couple things. First, I want to apologize for Casey for on social media. I was kind of heartbroken and probably not appropriate, but the message was clear and what she was trying to do was right. I spent the day yesterday with Casey, with Greg, with some staff and some members of our community, walking Galt Field and looking at the issues. If anybody knows, I was the president of that league for 4 years. I've coached, I've been there, and it's like my own backyard. So I take it kind of personal. So it was a really good situation. I think we came up with a really good plan to address the issues. I think everybody's on the same page. And I just want to say that I think it's going to be really good. We're going to make this right and we're making it better. So that's really the big picture. I don't want to get into details of what the plan is, but they do have a field cleanup day on this Saturday morning. If anybody wants to come out with a broom, shovel, rake, whatever, come out. Probably a wheelbarrow will help. And we'll see what we can do and see what we can move the needle at this point in time. The other comment I want to make, and again, I might regret this, social media. I think everybody needs to be aware that while these are Canyon Lake community pages, they're not all Canyon Lake community members on the pages. I don't care whose page it is. It has members from outside the community that maybe have moved away or whatever. So when we're airing our, let's say, dirty laundry, it doesn't matter what it is, it's going to more than our community. It's going outside our house. And I just want people to be aware of that. Think twice. And I know every single page. I've gone through it. I have friends that are on there that no longer live here. Some pages address it, some don't. But just be aware and, you know, feel comfortable about knowing who your audience is before you do it. Because I think that, you know, all of us take it to heart. We all care for this community. We care for the citizens of this community and we all want it to be better. So that was my point. Just make sure you know your audience and who you're talking to. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. One of the things about Galt Field, I just want everyone to know, and Steve is speaking with our contractor. One of the reasons why they were hired, was it 4 years ago? But one of the reasons why they were hired and part of their resume is they handle Petco Park. And that was really one of the selling points, because if you manage and handle Petco Park, we feel confident that you're going to be able to, aside from our other parks, be able to take care of Galt Field. So Steve is having some conversations with the individuals at the company that we contract with. The other thing too, when you have, I mean, you can post to Facebook all day long, that's fine. I highly recommend emailing, whether it's an individual person, operations has where you can go directly online, even through the app. If you see something, if you see a pothole, you see a tree limb down, or whatever it is, something at Galt Field or any other park, you can go online and let them know. Also, for email addresses, I recommend you go online because some might be first initial, last name, some might be first, last name, word.com versus it could be a dot anything. There's .nets out there. There's a lot of different dots out there. So to make sure you have the proper email address, I just encourage you to do that as well. I'm going to give another plug for the Tuesday work group and Divot Day, which is on February 13th. If you want to show your spouse that you truly care for them, step out of the house and give them a break in the morning. Come on down to Tuesday work group. You get to have coffee and donuts, and then you get to work off that energy and all that sugar. So it is a win-win for everyone. There might be some chocolate there as well. So that would be fantastic. Reminder again, the budget workshop is February 22nd. The Finance Committee they put a lot of work into it, and I have my book in my car, but they get this massive book and go through it line by line by line for each department. And they spend their time doing that. Then they spend their time interviewing the managers, going over line by line, comparing to the prior years and even beyond that. So they put a lot of effort into that, and then spend time during a 2-day workshop. So it's a great time to come in, learn more about the community versus just seeing the end number and get really joyful or really upset, but you can see the whole process behind it. Also, as I said earlier, we'd love to hear your comments with regards to the income that we're going to be receiving from the fire station and how best to put that in use for Canyon Lake. And then last but not least, if you want to know what's going on in the community, there's the best way to do it is the official page of Canyon Lake POA, which is Canyon Lake POA Facebook page. I recommend Instagram if you want to cut out all the noise. I also recommend following us on Instagram for the Country Club Restaurant and Lighthouse if you want to see right away what artist is going to be there performing on any, Friday night or something going on Thursday. If you follow them on Instagram, you'll know right away. So you can call and make your reservations and go ahead and lock that in. So I encourage everyone to do that. And also, if you don't have our newsletter and that's not sent to you weekly, to go onto our website and subscribe to that. And then you will know what's going on in the community. So with that, we're going to take a little break because we have, no, we don't. It's canceled, but Eric first.
Before you adjourn, I want to talk about 3 important dates. Sorry, I forgot this. It was important and I skipped it. There's a couple things I need to add about the lodge construction project. There's 3 important dates. There's an unbelievable amount of misinformation flying around on the internet, and I need to clear some things up. Also, a comment was made by a member today. Why there was, why did this project sneak up on us? Well, we talk about a lot of construction projects here, and these projects don't become a reality until the board funds them. And some of them just go away and they never come back. And so this project really wasn't a reality until January 3rd. And so at that point, it's like, okay, we're actually going to build this thing now. And we really couldn't tell anyone any different than that until a month ago, because it was not a reality at that point. The other 2 dates I want to address is our building permits. There's been tons of misinformation about this. Our building permits actually did expire once. They were extended by the city, and they have extended those dates to August 2nd and September 3rd. And so if we don't start these projects right now, our permits will expire again, and we may be subject to new building code, all new building fees. And so that's the reason we're proceeding with this project. I just needed to get that out there. Thanks.
Well, then now I have to add to that. On the plans, when you look at the plans and they're available online, you'll see they were first created back in 2018. This was something that the Facility Planning Committee, I believe, has been working on for at least 4 years. And then there were some revisions in 2021. Unfortunately, the architect who started it passed away in between. So some of the revisions were done, I believe, by his ex-wife or former wife. But all that information is available online. It's all available online if you have any questions on that. On the ACC, I still think we need to address it, correct, or no? I just want to make sure, even though they're not here, before I adjourn. No.
We'd like a motion to table. If that's what you're going to do, we'd prefer a motion, but.
Actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and if good, we'll go ahead and start with the ACC instead of, since no one's here.
While Cheryl's walking up, can I sneak one other thing in? Blake, I'm gonna go celebrate my girlfriend's birthday, so why don't you call me tomorrow and I'll happy to meet with you tomorrow or any other time, okay?
All right, go ahead and Cheryl. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Okay, so it came to my attention today that the member has canceled or pulled the actual appeal for today. And so that would mean that it would not be tabled, but I guess I'm not sure what the technical term would be. Harmony, would you help me out with that?
Well, I mean, it's on the agenda, so the board can, it's their authority to vote if they'd like to with or without his presence. Since he's pulled it, if the board would like to honor that, it's just easier to have a motion. So there's something clear for the minutes as to what the board would like to do.
Yeah. So we can just remove it then?
Sure, but if you could make a motion, that'd be best for the
Okay.
minutes.
So is there a motion?
To pull it.
Make a motion to remove it. Second.
All right, all in favor of removing this ACC appeal, say aye.
I.
Aye. All right.
Or in favor of an absent, motion carried.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, motion, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right, thank you.